Welcome to Drum Corps Central, a podcast. I am a 13-year-old drum corps superfan who loves all forms of the marching arts. Thanks for watching the podcast today. There will be an almost daily episode of this podcast recapping the previous night's drum corps scores and looking ahead. Today is Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. Last night, 3 shows across the DCI circuit. Tonight, only 2. I'll break down everything you need to know from last night, what that means for the days ahead, what it currently looks like on the world class side and on the open class side, and taking a look at tonight's shows, and as I said, what that means for the days ahead. All that plus more today on Drum Corps Central, a podcast. So, first up last night, Sandy, Utah in the Salt Lake City area. Drums along the Wasatch, 5 open class scores here. Open class only show. Vanguard Cadets top the scoring charts with a 72.7. Gold comes in second with a 67.7. Battalion third with a 65.8. Watchman fourth, 58.9. And Impulse fifth with a 57.6. Vanguard Cadets in gold, only 2 corps here that will go to Michigan City and World Championships. I want to correct myself because all season long I've been saying that Impulse is going to World Championships. Unfortunately, yesterday I found out that they are not, and I believe this is something that everyone knew, and I just took a list from like last year or something, who knows, but Impulse, they are not going to World Championships. I just want to correct myself with that. I've already removed them from the Open Class Championships leaderboard. If you go onto drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, my own personal website about all things drum corps, and check that out. They are already removed from that, and they are removed from it in this slideshow here. The second through fifth corps here, everybody except Vanguard Cadets will go to Denver tonight. They will join the Guardians there. Let's take a look at the scoring recap for drums along the Wasatch last night. So, a partial panel here, both general effect judges, one general effect 1, and a general effect 2 judge. No color guard judge, no brass judge, and no percussion judge, just the overall visual proficiency, visual analysis, and music analysis scores. Vanguard Cadet sweeps everything, gold, pretty much second in everything. They have won 3 over in general effect 1 in the repertoire column, where the battalion got past them. Battalion then all 3s, and then Watchman and Impulse go head-to-head very closely. You've got Watchman in general effect 1, Impulse in general effect 2, and then overall general effect, it goes to the Watchman. Visual proficiency and visual analysis to the Watchman, so overall visual to the Watchman. Music, really kind of where Impulse gets a little and gains a little ground, but only a 10th victory there without brass and percussion being judged. Second last night, a huge show in Mesquite, Texas, DCI Mesquite, presented by Pageantry Innovations. 10 world-class scores here, a huge night of action to wrap up Texas Tour 2018. Santa Clara Vanguard comes out on top with a 92.425, a huge score for them once again, gain a 10th from their San Antonio score. Blue Devils come in second, very close though to the Bluecoats, a 91.375 to a 91.35. I'm just going to plug that in the calculator real quick. That is 0.025 that the Blue Devils are ahead of the Bluecoats by, so not a big margin at all. Crown fourth, I think something, I'm not sure what it was, but something that they did on Saturday in San Antonio, and yes, it might have been a panel thing, but they were really close to the Blue Devils and Bluecoats. Now they've kind of backed off a little, more than a point behind. They did debut some changes to their ballad the other day. I'm sure they have, every corps has like 3 closers they put on the field, if not more. They have their closer they put on in June to start off the season. Depending who the corps is, they run it either not at all during the season or for most of it, like difference between the Bluecoats. We've up until I think Katy on Friday night, they still had the same closer they had in Detroit a month before that. Meanwhile, Crown, it took them less than, or well, a little bit more than a week to get that closer on the field and for them to contend with it. So it really depends the season and the core, the design staff, all those things when these cores put their endings on the field. But what I'm trying to say is that Crown probably has not made their last jump up to those guys. And plus, if they can do well with a huge panel like you see at these big events like San Antonio, Atlanta, these regionals, they'll have no trouble getting close in finals. Keep going down the list here. The Cavaliers, I think it'll be more of a Cavaliers versus Boston battle this season. I don't think the Cavaliers have necessarily what they need to get to Crown. Honestly, I think the Cavaliers and Boston are both better than Crown, at least this season. But apparently the judges do not. So I'm not going to contend with their opinions. 6th and 7th, very close here. The Academy and Spirit of Atlanta. I said yesterday, you take the Crossmen out of this show, that has to be a factor in how these guys are judged. Academy just a little bit more than a 10th above Spirit here at Mesquite. So very close Spirit. This is definitely going to be a big push for them to potentially make finals come August. Then you got the Troopers there. I don't think they got what it takes this year to make finals, but I think in the years coming, if they have what they have this year and grow on that, they definitely will have no trouble getting into at least a contending spot for finals. Genesis and Seattle Cascades round out the order. Genesis does keep a little bit of a lead on the Seattle Cascades. That was something I was kind of looking forward to talking about here today. Let's take a look at the scoring recap for DCI Mesquite last evening. So here I have General Effect and Visual for all 10 cores. No trouble for Vanguard and General Effect, other than the Bluecoats getting that 1-1 in General Effect 1 performance. Straight across the board in General Effect, it's really Vanguard dominating, and the Bluecoats are second. The General Effect caption is not a strong place for the Blue Devils this season. You go over to Visual. Visual proficiency, Vanguard leads the Bluecoats by less than a tenth, half a tenth. Then Blue Devils third, just a tenth back of Vanguard, so very close there. You go visual analysis. This is where the Blue Devils start to pick up a little bit of momentum. Very close, half a tenth above Vanguard there, and then Bluecoats third. And then over in Color Guard, you've got Blue Devils first by 3/10 over Vanguard, and then another 2/10 back to Bluecoats. Whatever I said the other day on Sunday about the Bluecoats, or about the Blue Devils Color Guard, that must have just been a bad night in San Antonio, because they've picked up right kind of where they left off over the past few seasons. You see Crown really dominating across the board here. A few 5s, but not too many. Cavaliers, they get 4s, where Crown gets 5s. And then this is not where Academy is strong. You see 7 in General Effects, so Spirit 6. Visual, you've got 2 7s in Visual Proficiency and Color Guard. Well, actually, kind of like 3 7s in those. And then Visual Analysis, you top Spirit. It will be tough for Academy to beat Spirit in music, but that's where we head next. So then next up, Brass, you've got Crown, of course, so strong there. Second, Vanguard. Third, Bluecoats. Fourth, Blue Devils. Fifth, Cavaliers. Then you've got Spirit ahead of the Academy there. Music analysis, you've got Vanguard, then Crown, Blue Devils, Bluecoats, Cavaliers, Academy, but then you go to the Troopers and then Spirit. So thankfully for the Academy, they have a big gap there on Spirit, because you're down 4/10 in Brass. Then you go over to Music Analysis, and you're up by 8/10 over Spirit, and the Troopers beat them too. So really a lot of good stuff happening for Academy and Music Analysis last night. Then over in Percussion, Vanguard won, Blue Devils 2. They definitely have figured out their percussion game this year. So have Crown, Cavaliers 4th. Bluecoats definitely going to have to work on percussion. They did gain a little. It's not as bad as I thought it might be when they all got together in San Antonio. I was thinking this might be like 7th, 8th, 9th. Luckily, they pulled it together and they got like 5th or 6th there, so not too bad for the Bluecoats. Then you go down 6th, Academy, 7th, Spirit. That is one area where they're not so strong, but only a 10th behind. Overall music, Vanguard first, Crown second. Definitely saving Crown, I think, right now. They would be farther down if Crown did not have the music totals they're getting. Blue Devils third, Bluecoats fourth, Cavaliers fifth. And remember, this is about the this show here is about the closest you get to having a mini regional where you have like the top 5, 6 scores. Next to like Tour of Champions events, this is like the closest you're gonna get. Fifth, Music Cavaliers, I said that. Sixth, Academy. Seventh, because of that margin in music analysis, kind of killed Spirit. Academy gets 6th, Spirit 7th, but only by 2.5 tenths. Troopers 8, Genesis 9th, Seattle Cascades 10th. Then the last event last night, Lafayette, Louisiana, drums across Cajun Field. Open class, Louisiana Stars they're the only core there, 64.8. I said yesterday if Louisiana Stars could be anywhere from about 4 to 7 points behind Music City, that'd be a win for them. They can still contend for semifinals, especially because Music City is so strong. Louisiana Stars did just that within that 7-point gap, a little less than 7 points. Go down the World Class Cadets first, 86.45, Blue Stars 84.05. Crossman in third with an 81.35. That score I'm going to talk a little bit more about when we get to the leaderboard, because that score is not good for them when you talk about Academy and Spirit's success last night. Colts fourth with a 79.2, Pacific Crest fifth, 73.8, and Music City sixth with a 71.5. Music City definitely still sticking in there to try to catch Pacific Crest. Now let's take a look at the scoring recap for drums across Cajun Field last night. So one open class score here, Louisiana Stars. I'm not going to compare them to anything other than themselves, really, because of no other open class scores being here. They'll join everybody else now in the Midwest. Their first open class only show is Cape Girardeau on Friday night. Then over here in World Class, here's General Effect and Visual scores. Cadet Sweep General Effect, definitely a strong point for them. Blue Stars second there. I don't think Crossmen are going to get up to those two. If they do on any of this, I'll point it out, but I don't think they do. Visual Proficiency to the Cadets, Visual Analysis, Visual Proficiency, 4 tenths to the Cadets. Visual Analysis, 3 tenths to the Blue Stars, so the Cadets still hold a little bit of an advantage. Then you go over to Color Guard, a caption where the Cadets really kind of struggle this year. 5 tenths behind for them in Color Guard. So overall visual, you got 25.9 for the Blue Stars, 25.7 for the Cadets, a 2/10 victory for the Blue Stars there. Not much else to point out here other than Color Guard and General Effect 1 Music City does get above Pacific Crest. Then you go over to music. Brass, you got Cadets, Blue Stars, Colts top Crossman there. Music analysis, Cadets over Blue Stars. Percussion, big win for the Cadets over the Blue Stars, almost 2 points, 1.9. And Crossman actually come in second. Blue Stars are going to have to figure something out in percussion if they want to get up to the Cadets or Blue Knights. They've been historically strong in percussion over the past few years. The Blue Stars have. It just seems like this year, though, they can't really figure it out there. That could just be a lack of talent, or maybe a staff change. Who knows? A lot of different factors go into how these cores score, and a lot of different off-season changes that happen definitely have an effect on how these cores score. So a bunch of different factors that could go into why the Blue Stars are kind of struggling a little in percussion. Then you got the Cadets first. They're kind of the opposite of the Blue Stars. They are kind of consistent across the board. Like when you put them all together, you got a bunch of 7s for the Cadets. Then you go to percussion, they're like 5th or 6th. So they're kind of mirror opposites. The Blue Stars are really struggling. The Cadets are really succeeding. Crossmen get a 5/10 victory over the Blue Stars too in percussion. So overall music first, Cadets 9.5. Blue Stars second with a 24.45. Yikes, they're going to have to figure something out in music. Crossman third with a 23.95. Colts Pacific Crest, Music City. Now let's take a look at the DCI World Class Leaderboard for this morning. So here's all 24 corps. Up at the top, no changes. Vanguard, Blue Devils, Blue Coats, all within 2 points of each other. Not really, 3 points of each other. So who knows how they will finish out. Who knows? Maybe I think Vanguard's the clear favorites right now, but who knows? Maybe the Blue Devils or Blue Coats could throw something in. I would bet you that Vanguard. Well, I would bet you Blue Devils are not done winning against Vanguard this season. I don't think they could. I don't think they're going to win the championship, but I think that they are not done potentially beating Vanguard. There's a lot of time left in the season. Even though it seems like a short amount of time, there's a lot of time for them to potentially get past anybody, and especially it's the Blue Devils. You have 18 championships. I would not put it past them, but I think Vanguard's just so strong right now. It's tough for them to even be 1 point above, and that's kind of what we saw last night, just about a point, but it's tough to see them below that right now with the gaps that they are creating every night on these guys. These top 6 have kind of separated themselves. I talked about that on Sunday, about the San Antonio scores. Especially now, I think I came up with a good little way of saying how far they are away from everybody. Boston could not have a show in 3 days, or any of those top 6 couldn't, and still nobody from 7th on down could catch them. So I think right now that's kind of what it's saying here, is that those top 6 have totally broken away. No one is going to catch them this year. Down the bubble, the next big place to look, you see Mandarins have a 1.025 gap. They didn't have a show last night, so that's fine. Crossman, though, they did have a show last night. 0.2 above where Academy and Spirit were. Yes, maybe those scores were inflated or whatever, but the Crossmen are still right there. I think anybody from 10th to 15th right now, probably. I think you got to narrow it down more to probably 11th to 14th. Mandarins, Crossman, Academy, Spirit are in a big battle to go to finals. I think that Mandarins have kind of they're going to try to pull away, but I think the Crossmen are right there. They could be out this week. They could be in Allentown. They could be out in prelims and then back out in whatever I said, semifinals. It's that close right now. And then Academy and Spirit, I think those two are kind of we're here, we just need to gain a little ground to get into finals. Now let's take a look at the DCI Open Class leaderboards for this morning. So today is the last day where I will be taking a look, well, tomorrow, to kind of round it off, and after the season, at this left side, including all corps, because after today, this is not relevant. After tonight, when the Battalion, Watchmen, and Impulse all wrap up their seasons, it's kind of irrelevant because they don't, nothing's going to happen over there. It's just going to be those corps that keep competing. They're just going to keep racking up points. So I'm not even going to look at that after tomorrow. You got Vanguard, Cadets, Blue Devils, B, Spartans, Legends, Gold, top 5 in both. Battalion sneak in there at 6th. Guardians right there as well. It's going to be really interesting tonight to see Gold versus Battalion versus Guardians. I know Battalion wraps up their season, especially Gold versus Guardians, because that could have lasting impact through the rest of this season. You keep going down, especially on this right side. Now that I removed Impulse, saying that was kind of like false data that I was putting in there, it now puts Heatwave in 12th, Colt Cadets in 13th, Shadow 14th, Raiders 15th, you see the next show for everybody after tonight in Denver. Tomorrow night, no shows for anybody, I believe. Then on Friday or on Thursday night, you get this Johnsonburg show, and then Friday night really ramps up. You get Cape Girardeau and Sheffield, Pennsylvania that night. Now let's take a look at tonight's shows for Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. So first up, DCI in the Heartland. All-time Central Time here, 7:30. Welcome to National Anthem, 7:42. Seattle Cascade, 7:59. Pioneer, 8:16. Jersey Surf. All of those bottom three cores are all here at this one, Surf, Pioneer, and Seattle Cascades. It'll be interesting to see where they go, because I think that those three could be right on the battle. Maybe not Pioneer, because they're pretty far out, but Seattle Cascades and Jersey Surf could be right where they need to be for semifinals this year. I definitely think that they have what they need. Got Madison versus Mandarins. Mandarins are so far above Madison. It's not even a battle like it was last year. And Crown versus Boston. First time we get to see those two together without Cavaliers or anybody else since back in Orlando. And that was with the Bluecoats too. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe Boston could catch Crown tonight, because Boston's kind of got Cavaliers. After Saturday, or maybe even earlier this week, they'll have the Cavaliers. Their next site will be on Crown. A few notes for DCI in the Heartland at Bronco Stadium in Mustang, Oklahoma. Weather here, it's a hazy night, 86 to 77 from 8 to 10. Starts off pretty nice. Just take a look, just make sure you're alert if you're waiting for scores tonight or going to this one. As I say every day, just make sure to stay alert with DCI social media and other outlets today. This one could be delayed. It starts at 7:30. Maybe they could push it back to maybe like 8 or 8:30. Who knows? But it looks like if it just cooled down a little and it wasn't so hazy, it would be a really good night for some drum corps. It must say, of course, the show will go on though. And second, Arvada, Colorado Mile High Showcase in the Denver area. 7 o'clock, Welcome to National Anthem. 7:10, Sound Sport Group Arsenal. 7:20, Watchmen. 7:40, Impulse. 8 o'clock, Gold. 8:20, The Guardians. And 8:40, The Battalion. At 9:05, scores will be announced. All times Mountain Time here. So scores will be announced somewhere around 11:05 Eastern Time. You got Gold Guardians versus the Battalion tonight. Very big battle there. Impulse, Watchmen, and the Battalion wrap up their season. So big nights for them. Moving on, a few notes for Mile High Showcase. It's at the North Area Athletic Complex, a nice looking stadium. I looked it up. Looks nice in Arvada, Colorado. Weather forecast looks really good. 7 to 9, 83, 80, 77. Partly cloudy and mostly sunny, which is basically the same thing, to mostly clear skies as the show ends. Looks like a great night for some drum corps in Colorado. Now, just a few things before I finish here today. Make sure to check out drumcorpscentral.weebly.com for all your latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours, scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more. It can all be found on my own personal website about all things drum corps, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you don't already, at Drum Corps Geek, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Drum Corps Central, where this podcast and more will all be posted. Just a real quick note here today. Over the next few days, I will be publishing like a merchandise guide if you are heading to any shows for the rest of the season, especially the big three regionals, Atlanta, Allentown, and Indy. Just so you got a brief look at what the corps are selling. I did the same thing last year. This year, I'll try to find some way of putting on my website, including it in this slideshow, just as a reminder, and putting it on Twitter. So be on the lookout for that. Also, a look at the housing and rehearsal site information for the corps as they head to Atlanta, Allentown, and Indy. Maybe you're going to Indianapolis on Wednesday for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you want something to do on Wednesday, go see a core practice. I'll be publishing that as well as I said, for Atlanta and Allentown as well. I just do that at the same time as I look up the merchandise information for each core. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Good luck to all participating cores. Have a great rest of your day.